Hello and welcome to Stretford Paddock. My name is Joe, that is Stephen Howson, and this
Where's the swimming pool gone?
There's no swimming pools in England, unfortunately. This is how Rasmus Hojlund fits in at Manchester United, what he brings, and crucially as well, what he doesn't bring. Because I think we're being sort of told almost that he's one thing when maybe he's not. So let's start with that. First of all, Steve, your thoughts on this signing a bit more generally before we get into those details.
All right, I did a scout report on Rasmus 3 or 4 months ago.
Yeah.
And I thought this kid's got something. And I positioned this signing as like a backup to Harry Kane.
Yeah.
If you can get him for 30 mil, 35, that sort of range, I think he's really, really got something. He shows a lot of promise. He's got the right attributes that I think Ten Hag's looking for in a striker. He's very much an all-rounder. He's not just like a poacher. Mm-hmm. He's not really just a target man either. He's a lot more than that. And I really liked all of that. I think what changes the narrative a little bit on him is I still think there's a twist in the Kane thing, and that doesn't necessarily mean it's a twist for us. I just think there's twists in there, and there's more to play out with that. But I do get the impression that Rasmus is probably our number 9 and our first choice, which might be a little early. But at the same time, we've also been asking United to take a risk on, has he got the right stuff? Have we scouted him properly? Well, then there's no drama with it, potentially, is there? So I do like the signing. I think we've overpaid. Yeah. And there's a lot of people disagree with that. That's fine. It's my opinion. I think we've overpaid. I thought we overpaid with Anthony. Yeah. Probably by 20, 30 million. I think that's the same situation here. So
we're looking at around 65 million quid that could go up to 72 is the fee, just in case anyone's unaware.
So Sky reporting that it was 80.
Yeah. But just on him then, you mentioned, and we've got this constant comparison with Haaland. They're both Scandinavian, they're both blonde, they're both quite tall, quick, they're both goal scorers, and their names are quite similar. But none of those things, if you actually take them away, are actually to do with what they're like on the pitch. They're all the sort of extra stuff.
It's just a lazy. One plays for City, one plays for United.
Yeah, but in terms of what they do, they're completely different. Like, obviously, Højlund isn't quite as developed in his career yet. He's not got the same goal-scoring numbers. But when you look at how they build up, and this is, I think, maybe what not everyone knows about Højlund is, he's much better, or he prefers to have the ball at his feet a lot more than Haaland does. So you look at some of his stats, his touches in the attacking third are in the top 14% of attackers, whereas Haaland's are in the bottom 22%. Haaland gets the ball and shoots, or just shoots. You also look at take-ons attempted. Højlund is in the top 8% of forwards, whereas Haaland is in the bottom 14%. They're not, he likes having the ball at his feet. He likes going past people. Does that excite you? Do you think we need someone that can do that?
Yeah, like I said, he's an all-rounder.
Yeah.
And not only that, you've not touched on his defensive
We'll get to that,
stats,
but go
on. And his finishing's pretty good.
Yeah.
The problem is Haaland's finishing is otherworldly.
Yeah.
Like, that's the problem. And people go, well, we should be getting that. All right, well, cool. You show me where that is. That's not at Manchester City currently, because it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the comparisons are going to suck.
Mm-hmm.
And Haaland might be one of the all-time greats. Like, legitimately might be talking about another Messi and Ronaldo sort of figure in world football here at the early stage of his career.
Yeah.
So, is Højlund as good as Haaland? No. But he's also, like you said, he's a different player. And it doesn't matter if he's not as good as Haaland, but he makes Manchester United better and brings goals out of others and contributes with 18 to 20 himself. Sound.
Yeah. And just a couple of other stats, because again, just so we can get a sort of a rounder picture of exactly what he's like. Like some of the places where he excels is progressive passes received and passes received. He's in the top 20% for 30% for passes received, top 1% for progressive passes received. He likes having the ball at his feet. He likes getting it. Whereas Haaland again is in the bottom 15% for both of those. They're just completely different players. One thing that's a bit weird with Højlund, his height. So depending on where you look, he's anywhere from 6'1", 5'11" I've seen one place, all the way up to 6'3". No one can decide if he's 185 centimeters, 191 centimeters. Either way, he's a bigger type of bloke, and he's fast as fuck. That's another thing. Do you think that that's something that we've gone for on purpose?
Yeah, but I've some people have dug me out for this because I said he's not as fast as Rashford, and then they've got that stat which shows he's faster than Rashford.
Yeah.
I don't think he's got the same level of acceleration. I think he's clearly got better top end.
Yeah.
This is like when Van Dijk got clocked. Yeah. And he because he ran like 70 metres across the pitch and got that top speed, but it doesn't show you the same level of, like, if I had to trust someone to be from a standing start to accelerate away from the fullback, it's Marcus.
Yeah.
Højlund doesn't have that blistering, but he does have to, because he's big, he's got a big stride, and he is a powerful runner. He does have a good top end. I don't know how often we'll go, oh my God, look how fast he is, because I don't know how often he's going to get the opportunity to display that. Marcus, you see his level of sprinting on display constantly because it's his main weapon, and I don't think it's the same. He ain't slow, obviously.
No. Do you think that he's going to be the starter for United down the middle?
1,000,000%.
Like, you think?
Even if it's Martial, it's Højlund.
But is there a chance that it could be Rashford?
No.
Okay, that's good. And United have needed that, haven't they? Just someone who who's starting in that number 9 position. I just want to look at his XG. I know you're a fan of XG, or you certainly believe it has value. I think last season he scored 9 goals in the league on an XG of 10.2, which is essentially 1. Looking at Haaland, and again, this isn't a comparison because they're similar type of players, it's because of how many goals he scored. He had an XG of 32 last year and scored 36 goals. But we've seen from Haaland, we've looked at his stats, he didn't get that XG by running past players or by making it himself. He's getting the ball delivered to him on a plate.
Yeah, there's a reason Raheem Sterling shit goals when he was at City.
Yeah, he got 30 goals a season when he's not a very good finisher. How important is it that he gets that service and that delivery? Because I was looking at Martial, who actually, his XG again is pretty good, but because he's played so few minutes, he just doesn't have enough chances. Do you think that he could score 15, 20 goals next season? What's the expectation for you, knowing that basically if you give him a chance, he'll score it?
His goals per minute are pretty good.
Yeah.
The headline is, 32, 34 games he played and only 9 goals.
Yeah.
He played like 90 minutes.
Yeah, he played 1,800 minutes, which is about 20 games.
Yeah, so he played essentially 20 games and got 9 goals, and I think he got 4 assists in that as well, which is a good little return.
Yeah.
Like, that's a solid little return. And if you don't think that's a good return, you need to go and check out what Harry Kane was doing at 20 years of age. You need to go and check out what Ivan Toney was doing at 20 years of age, and these other players that he's getting compared to unfairly because they're multiple years ahead of him, multiple more experience than him. I think at 20, Kane was stinking the place up at Leicester on loan. He's had a good grounding. He's got a good international record. He's got a little bit of pedigree about him. And like I said, the FB ref numbers are really strong and really well-rounded. I think he comes into Manchester United and gives us a bit of a focal point. He will play a little bit as a target man, but he'll also be a guy that takes the ball and advances it forward, and players are going to run off him. But he'll also, like, the progressive passes received explains how good his movement is ahead of the ball. Yeah. Because you're not getting them for nothing. I think the pure XG number, it can hide behind a lot of things. Is he shooting wildly? Because Harry Kane has a lot of wild shots, which skew his XG, but they also skew his XG a little bit because sometimes they're a 0.2 or 0.02 shot, so it don't really matter. You have 10 of them before you get anywhere near getting anything like a half chance. So I wouldn't read too much into what his XG is. The striker XG largely depends on what sort of service they're getting. If he's miles under it, it's problematic. But you want to go and look at Lewandowski's and see the variation he had, where he was hugely under it and hugely over it in various seasons as well. But when you look at the numbers he got, it was like 51 and 52, something like that. So it's a good tool. But it's not the be-all and end-all when it comes to quantifying what a striker does, especially when they've got so much of an element of playmaking like Højlund does versus a Haaland. If Haaland ain't scoring, I don't really know what he's doing.
Yeah, I mean, luckily for City, he is scoring.
Yeah, he's scored a couple, hasn't he?
We've established that he's not just a tapping kind of guy. He's going to be someone that's going to be involved in the build-up play. Do you think that we're going to have a situation here where obviously, we're saying this. I think some, people are explaining the type of player he is. But the general consensus is he's trying to be Haaland. He's a Haaland rip-off. He's a Haaland knockoff. Do you think that that's going to count against him when we're going to see, I can already imagine, and I've seen this isn't on Sky anymore, is it? But people who are
he's on TalkSport, though.
Paid a lot of money but won't have done the research, comparing him to Haaland, saying, well, he's only got X, he's only got this, he's only done that. Do you think that could count against him?
Yeah, what time's Gabby Agbonlahor's show?
I'm not sure. It seems to be on 24/7 on TalkSport. But people are going to expect one thing from him, and then when they don't see that, they're going to use that against him, aren't they?
Yeah, their lack of research is going to be a problem for Højlund, because he's not what they thought he was after doing no research into him. Yeah, it's unfortunate. I don't really know who I would say he's more like in terms of forwards. He's more Wayne Rooney than a Rude.
Yeah,
he's less of an Ollie than he's just his own kind of guy. Like there's not really any forwards that I haven't go. Actually, he's very much in the mould of maybe Zlatan.
Yeah. What is it about him that excites you the most? What do you think? What's the thing where you go, I can't wait to see this from him. I'm looking forward to watching him do that.
I think he presses really well.
Yeah.
I think he presses really well. Like I said, he's got a good dribble on him as well, and I think that's an underrated skill in a forward, a number 9. Because a number 9 that can manoeuvre himself into a position to open up and shoot is a really good thing. I'm excited to see what his pace does.
Yeah.
Because I think the Italian league, it's a bit defensive. Because the Italian league's not a hardcore pressing league, you haven't really seen him exploiting the pace he does have in behind too much. And maybe that's why I was like, he doesn't have the same blistering pace as Rashford, because he's not got 45 yards to run into. Yeah. He's got 4.
And there are a few clips of when he does have that space. And also, I think United, we forced that space more than we used to. Like, I'm thinking back to the Arsenal game at home, was even Ericsson, who is not quick.
I think the whole Premier League,
the Everton game
bulk
at home
of the Premier League
was insane. And the Chelsea game at home was if we had a quick striker in behind, what we did, but not him, he could have an absolute field day in those sorts of games.
Anthony's not slow.
No.
He slows it down when he tries to cut in on his left foot, but he can get in behind if he wants to.
Yeah.
Now, if you've got Mount and Bruno and you want to play a quick transition, I think we're trying to be both. Yeah. I think we're trying to have a quick transition, but also be able to dominate the ball.
Yeah.
And I like that. I think that's a good way to use it. Like Jose said, if you don't play counter-attacking football, you're fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Because it's one of the best tools that you can have. You've eliminated half of the opposition to have a free run at net. Go on then.
And unfortunately, that's what Liverpool did so well, isn't it? For those seasons, it's, we'll sit back, or not sit back, but we'll press, and then as soon as we get the ball, everyone's sprinting in behind. It's not quite City, but it's maybe slightly more Liverpool.
I think there's so many more teams in the Premier League loving a press.
Yeah.
Versus a low block, and I think you get a little bit more minimal low blocks in Italy than you do in the Premier League. I think the Premier League is a little bit more blood and thunder, which therefore means it suits the more transitional sort of games, which means it's going to suit players that have got pace.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. And just finally, in terms of expectations, like, I'm not that you're going to say, well, if you don't get 10 goals, he's shit, but what do you think should be a kind of requirement from him? Whether that's a goal number, whether that's a type of performance or establishing himself, what do you want to see from him next season?
He can't do what Weghorst did.
Which is what, not score?
Yeah.
Right.
I think that's a requirement of a forward. As much as, like, if everybody else scores and he's got 49 assists, you go, hey, he didn't score. Yeah, but he made 40. Like, cool. I think that'd be fine.
Yeah.
But if you've got, 2 assists, 1 goal, and he plays every game, it's problematic.
Yeah.
Even if the team's, you can be involved in play and make things happen around you without having a direct hand in it. That's what we struggled from a little bit last season, but his movement's good, and I think his movement's going to be problematic, and I think his movement's going to create more space for Marcus. I think his movement will create more space for Anthony to blast it over the bar, and I think it'll create a bit more movement and space for the likes of Bruno and Mount. I think he just gives us an edge. Like, if we looked at Manchester United at the moment and analysed it, we start right at the goalkeeper. You say, right, goalkeeper, pretty happy with most of his play. Mm-hmm. Defence, what have we got? We got a very solid defence. Is it comfortable playing out? Very.
Yeah.
Is it, can it deal with playing 1v1? Yes. Can it push up? Yes. Like, the defence has got all the tools it needs to be able to work.
Good balance.
Midfield, especially if we bring in Amrabat, has got excellent depth. It's got genuine quality. It's got probable world-class players in there, and I'd argue Casemiro and Bruno and potential there with Mount, and of course Kobe Manu. Obvious world-class. The attack, Marcus Rashford, if he can replicate the same form he did last season, which he hasn't yet on pre-season, near world-class, if not world-class. You've got question marks on the right-hand side, but still a very good player. Replicated what fucking Jack Grealish has done and got wanked off all season for. And then, you've got a player that can, if he can put 16, 17 goals in, that's a bloody good return. Messi and Ronaldo fucked the game up, and Lewandowski and Højlund fucked the game up for everyone. If you ain't getting a goal a game, then you're garbage, but that's not really real.
No. And historically, a goal every other game is the sign of a top striker, isn't it? That's what Rooney did. That's what Van Persie did for most of his career. That's what most top strikers did for most of their career. That's what Shearer did. Like, if he can get a goal every other game, I'd be more than happy with that. Right, that's going to be all from us. Thank you for joining us. That is Rasmus Hojlund. I'm sure a lot of people watching this will have seen and will know, but it's maybe not quite the player you thought he was, and maybe certainly not quite the player that we're trying to be told that he wants to be.
Certainly not the player like Gabby Agbonlahor is going to tell you he is.
Yeah, when he's getting slagged off for not tapping the ball in the back of the net 40 times next season, remember, he does more than that, and ideally he'll get 30 goals as well, but if he doesn't, let's stay patient. That's going to be all from us. Thank you for joining. Hit subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell as well, because when we sign new players, when there's breaking news, you will see it first. Thank you for coming on, Steve. We'll see you in a bit.